Hey guys, if you're new here and you like what I'm putting out, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you never miss an upload. When it comes to the Power Ranger franchise, everyone remembers Mighty Morphin when you bring it up. Everyone remembers the OG series that they grew up watching in the 90s. It's what a lot of people started with. So, why not go down memory lane and make a top 5 list? That's right, a top 5 list of my favorite episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1. Now, making this list was kind of difficult because there's 60 episodes of MMPR, and finding some good ones in this list was kind of difficult. I could have cheated and said Green with Evil all 5 parts and called it a day, but hey, I want to make things a little interesting for this video. So without further ado, here's my top 5 episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1. And if your favorite episode isn't on the list, don't worry about it. We all have different opinions on what episodes we like and what episodes we don't like, but if your favorite episode isn't on this list, feel free to tell me in the comment section down below and tell me what your top 5 episodes are. Alright, I gotta get this one out of the way as an honorable mention, and you guys are probably gonna be mad that it's an honorable mention, because if it was at number 1, this list would be way too predictable. So, honorable mention is the 5-part Green with Evil set of episodes. Now, everyone knows Green with Evil, everyone knows what it's about, how iconic it is, how we see the Dragon Sword for the first time, we see Tommy for the first time. Tommy has some badass moments where he 1v1s the Rangers and just solos them. Really cool fight scenes in this episode when they use this Sentai footage, but everyone knows what this episode's about and how iconic it was, so if I had it at number 1, this list would be very predictable, but overall, Green with Evil is still one of my favorite 5-parters in Mighty Morphin. Not only that, they've never done a 5-parter in Power Rangers since then, so this episode is kind of iconic in its own way that Power Rangers has never done a really long 5-parter ever since this episode, but I'm sure everyone knows what this episode's about and how important it is to the franchise and to the fandom. So, honorable mention, Green with Evil. Number 5, Day of the Dumpster. Of course I'm going to have the first episode of Power Rangers on this list because this episode is iconic because it set the groundwork for things to come on the show moving forward. I mean, in this one episode, we're introduced to the villain, we're introduced to their motives, we're introduced to the heroes and what they're about. We meet the comedic characters, we meet the mentor, we meet the robot, we learn about the powers and the Zords, and not only that, there's some really cool fight scenes, unmorphed and morphed in this episode. So it's really cool setting the groundwork for things to come later down the line on the show, because without this episode, we wouldn't have Power Rangers. So you gotta appreciate this episode for the little things, because without this episode, we wouldn't get the franchise. And although this very first episode isn't as strong as the first episode of Dino Fury SPD or Dino Thunder and other seasons, it's still an iconic episode that a lot of people remember when it comes to Power Rangers. Number 4, Food Fight. Now, I love this episode. I've got a lot of nostalgia for this episode. When I watched it as a kid, I would watch it all the time on VHS. Not only that, watching it as an adult, this episode is enough wacky fun goodness that I just enjoy seeing. I mean, the food fight, how they defeat the monster. The monster, we gotta talk about Pudgy Pig, because Pudgy Pig is up there with one of those iconic Power Ranger monsters. I mean, they even gave him a pop vinyl figure a few years back for the 25th anniversary of the show. So, Pudgy Pig is one of those iconic monsters that everyone remembers. Although the suit design was kind of terrifying for me as a kid, I still loved watching this episode. And how they defeat the monster is wacky as well. They force feed him hot food so he can spit out their weapons in the episode. I mean, this episode has got a lot going for it. I mean, the food fight, the fight scenes, just so wacky and fun. I mean, it's that early Mighty Morphin fun that's a lot of cheese, but it's the cheese that you enjoy to eat. Not that old moldy cheese you find in the back of the fridge. This is the good kind of cheese you get in Mighty Morphin that you love to watch all the time. Not only that, this episode has some wacky trivia, such as, did you know that people thought that Walter Jones lost his middle finger when filming this episode, but in fact he lost it as a child? Also, David Yost, who plays Billy, said this is one of his top 3 episodes of the series, and I can see why. The actors probably had a lot of fun filming this episode, getting to knock around a lot of food and throw it around set. This episode must have been a lot of fun to film back in the day. Number 3. Peace, Love and Woe. So you guys know the formula of Power Rangers. Usually there's a monster of the week, each character gets a spotlight episode, they get some development, but one of them that stands out in the early days of Mighty Morphin is Peace, Love and Woe, where it's a Billy focused episode, where Billy takes on a villain called Madame Woe, aka Lewis Griffin, to save someone he loves, and the Rangers get captured and placed in a head jewel, and this is where Billy gets a chance to shine, where Billy takes on the villain and gets into a one-on-one fight with Madame Woe, able to hold his own in the episode, even destroying the head jewel, which later leads to Billy helping together with the other Rangers to defeat her. So this episode was a benchmark in giving Billy some progression as a character, where he gained confidence in his ability as a Ranger. It also gave him confidence in his everyday life, and we saw that moving forward in the show, where in early days of Mighty Morphin, Billy struggled to hold off a few putties, and by season 3 he's kicking butt and fighting unmorphed, holding off Tangas and Z putties and stuff like that. So this episode was a staple for Billy's character becoming confident and moving forward. Number 2, Gungho, or the Green Candle, I couldn't really decide. It was a really struggle trying to decide which one of these episodes I wanted on the list, so I thought, why not make it a tiebreaker and talk about both? So, Gungho is an episode where Tommy and Jason learn about teamwork, but we also get to see Jason temporarily using Tommy's shield, and Tommy using Jason's sword, which was really cool because the two characters learn about teamwork in this episode. We also get to see the debut of Titanus, which is also really cool, which they could have led up to something bigger and better for that character, but hey, it is what it is. But the Green Candle is also an iconic episode because it's the episode where Tommy loses his powers and has to pass on the Dragon Shield to Jason, and Jason has the Dragon Shield moving forward. So these episodes are kind of hard to decide on because they're both very good character-driven moment episodes, because the events in the Green Candle have a lasting effect on Jason where he's scared about everyone else losing their powers, and the fact that he couldn't save Tommy haunts him. So these episodes have some really great moments when it comes to character development and epic moments throughout the franchise, so it's kind of hard to decide one of them on the list and put them on there. So the tiebreaker is Gungho and the Green Candle. So which one do you think is better suited for this list? Tell me in the comment section down below. Number 1, Return of an Old Friend. Where do I begin with this episode? So I mentioned earlier that the Green Candle was the two-parter where Tommy left the show and he hadn't been seen for several episodes, but that's because Jason David Frank was originally only meant to be a part of Mighty Morphin for 10 episodes, and when he left, fans were upset. They were writing letters, they were telling Saban to make him return, and Saban actually caved in. They brought back Tommy, one of their best and most popular characters at the time. So this episode is iconic for a lot of reasons, because the Rangers give up their power coins to the bad guy, you think all is lost, and then the episode ends with Tommy walking into the room and you hear that Go Green Ranger riff at the end of the episode. And then it leads into the two-parter where Tommy returns and returns to the show moving forward. Although his powers were limited because they were drained, that would be a major factor moving forward into the show, into season 2. This episode is an iconic moment because remember, back in the day the internet was fairly new. There was no international spoilers, there was no message boards telling us what the episodes were going to be about. Everything was brand new as we had our eyes glued to the television set when we were wee little kids. So this episode is kind of iconic for the impact it had. Just seeing that moment that I mentioned earlier where Tommy walked in, that must have blown a lot of people's minds if they didn't see that coming. And I didn't see it coming as a kid, and it blew my mind. So that's why this episode is number 1, because we saw the return of Tommy Oliver, and it's going to hold a special place in a lot of people's hearts. So that's my top 5 list of best Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 episodes. If this video does well, I'll do the top 5 worst episodes of Season 1 of MMPR, so look forward to that if this video does perform well. But what are your top 5 episodes of MMPR Season 1? Tell me in the comment section down below, and what do you think of my list? I love to hear your thoughts and love to hear your opinions. With that said, I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day or night.